All right, welcome into the 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Obviously, it's a different type of day here on the show as the NFL world was absolutely shocked yesterday in something that was extremely sad. It was horrifying. It was a real-life nightmare. And, of course, we're going to talk about Damar Hamlin on today's show because a lot of Niners players did react to that really scary situation in Cincinnati yesterday. We're not going to be drinking beers. We're not going to push super chats. Honestly, we just want to convey and pass along our thoughts and prayers, but also do our jobs and just pass along the news because this is something that is the biggest talking point across the National Football League. So it's going to be a difficult show to get through, but we're all going to do it together. This is obviously bigger than football, so we just want to pass along our prayers to Damar Hamlin as well as his family, the Buffalo Bills organization, all of the players that saw what they saw last night, because when a situation like that arises in which a player has to get that type of treatment on the football field, CPR, it becomes very, very scary. You forget about the game of football. This is life and death potentially that we were talking about last night, and that's what we're going to do on today's show is really just try to honor what happened last night and do it in a very professional manner. Now, in case a lot of you are not aware, this is Damar Hamlin right here of the Buffalo Bills. This is the latest information that we know as of right now. It's 4 o'clock Central from our Chat Sports studios here in Dallas, Texas, against the Bengals last night. After he had tackled T. Higgins, he got up, he collapsed, suffered cardiac arrest. The CPR lasted several minutes. His heartbeat was actually restored on the field. He is currently in critical condition at University of Cincinnati Medical Center, one of the best trauma centers, in all of America. That was only 2 miles away from the stadium. The first responders did such a great job in acting so quickly, and because of what happened last night to him, the Bengals-Bills game has been suspended. The NFL said today there are no plans to reschedule that game. It might not be played altogether, and obviously this does have implications in the AFC playoff race as well as the AFC North playoff race. But again, it's not about football. It's much bigger than that. Credit to Sean McDermott for getting the team together after what had transpired after Hamlin was taken off the field via ambulance and taken to the hospital. And credit to Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor for really standing up and refusing to play that game, taking both of their teams off the field to their locker room to really gather, sit back, wait for an update, and not move forward with this football game because it just wasn't right to continue. You knew something was wrong at the moment, and that's why myself, all of you, we were sitting on our couches just in disbelief and in shock at what was happening. The Buffalo Bills statement on Damar Hamlin is this: he suffered a cardiac arrest following a hit in our game versus the Bengals. His heartbeat was restored on the field, and he was transferred to the UC Medical Center for further testing and treatment. He is currently sedated and listed in critical condition. As of Tuesday afternoon, he remains in critical condition. This is from the family of Damar Hamlin. Of course, they are so appreciative of all of the support that's come across. On behalf of our family, we want to express our sincere gratitude for the love and support shown to Damar during this challenging time. We are deeply moved by the prayers and all of the kind words, as well as the donations from fans around the country. The NFL Players Association releasing this statement as well. Our union's focus remains on the health of our brother, Damar Hamlin. We continue to be in touch with the clubs and the NFL to ensure that the Bills and Bengals players have every resource available to aid and support them during this time. So that is the latest on Damar Hamlin. We are going to talk about him, what happened last night, what the 49ers players said in the aftermath of what was really just a real-life tragedy, something that we've literally never, ever seen before. But like I said, we do have to do our job, and we do have to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. I know all of you understand that, and that's what we're going to do on today's show. To see the comment section right now with all the prayers emojis, that's why the faithful is the best, and that's why I appreciate all of you so, so much. If you want to join the show today, we are going to be doing a mailbag for our third and final segment. You know how to get involved. If you don't, Here's a breakdown. Hashtag 49ers, better yet, Super Chat. Like I said, we're not going to ask for any Super Chats out there. But for John Wallace to send one, of course, we appreciate that. And, of course, he does it with class as well. $10 coming in from the winner of our Niners football on Sunday. What a great watch party. 120,000 people joined us. It was an absolute blast for one of the most exciting regular season games that you'll ever see. And congrats to John Wallace for winning the football. He said, number 3, Damar, you're loved, praying for you, lifting up his family, supporting him right now. Let's use this time for prayer. Let the negative not be brought up. Let's believe Damar will be okay, and hopefully he's okay. And, of course, we have said many prayers for him here at Chat Sports. So, like I said, a little bit of a different show today. There's no doubt about that, but we're going to pass along the latest on him. We're going to do our job. We're going to talk Niners football, and I'm really excited to have all of you here with me. And no matter where you are, how you're tuned, thank you so much for supporting the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm looking at the comment section. Roderick Bennett, Brother Man, Tony, Maximo, Easton, Kitty Cat, Ron Sullivan, Tony, Mo the Legend, Susie Blue, Maximo, Nova, Nico, all saying very, very great things in the comment section. Continue to keep it up. No negativity here. No Skip Bayless type of comments here. Thomas B., football seems so important right now. Unimportant? Yes, it does, Thomas B. You make a good point. Oozily, McCaffrey got hurt. Yes, we will talk about that. David Corona, what up, bro? David Corona, my guy. Good interacting with you on Sunday. Hope you had a great time. Raiders, Niners in the desert on Sunday afternoon. All right, so to start today's show, we're going to really go through everything that transpired with Damar Hamlin. After that, we'll go through the Niners injury report. Then we'll do a mailbag, so make sure you get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers, better yet, Super Chat. And without further ado, let's kick it off right now. Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Obviously, it's a sad and somber day here on the show as we're thinking about Damar Hamlin. Our thoughts and prayers are with him, as well as his family and the entire Buffalo Bills organization after what happened on Monday Night Football with that game getting cut short between the Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that was supposed to be one of the best games of the 2022-2023 NFL season, but by night's end, football didn't really matter one bit at all. Life did, and Damar Hamlin mattered last night. Now, as of this recording, it's just past 4 o'clock Central on Tuesday. Here's the latest with Damar Hamlin. Suffered cardiac arrest in Cincinnati. CPR lasted several minutes, about 8 minutes, as we saw it happen live on Monday Night Football. His heartbeat was restored on the field. He was transported to University of Cincinnati Trauma Center by ambulance. He is currently in critical condition. The Bengals-Bills game was suspended, and the NFL did release a statement this afternoon saying there are no plans to play that game. And NFL Week 18, that is also up in the air, according to a lot of sources out there and players in the NFL who might not be able to get their minds right after witnessing what happened. The only time that we've seen something like that happen on a football field at the NFL level. This is the statement from the Buffalo Bills on the current condition of Damar Hamlin. He suffered a cardiac arrest event following a hit in our game versus the Bills. His heartbeat was restored on the field. He was transferred to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center for further testing and treatment. He is currently sedated and listed in critical condition. And they followed that up with a brand new update here on Tuesday. Damar Hamlin spent last night in the intensive care unit. He remains there today in critical condition at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. We are grateful and thankful for the outpouring of support that we have received thus far. And I thought that that was really powerful as well. The outpouring of support that we saw from people all across the world, all NFL players. And if you look at every single Twitter bio picture of every organization in the NFL, they're all rocking that number 3 Hamlin photo on their Twitter pictures as they send along their thoughts and prayers as well. And the family of Hamlin really did feel that heartfelt support and all of the prayers being sent their way. They released this statement early on Tuesday. On behalf of our family, we want to express our sincere gratitude for the love and support shown to Damar during this challenging time. We are deeply moved by the prayers all of the kind words and the donations from fans around the country. And we'll get to those donations coming up just around the corner. The NFL Players Association had this to say in a statement: "Our union's focus remains on the health of our brother Damar Hamlin. We continue to be in touch with the clubs and the NFL to ensure that the Bills and Bengals players have every resource available to aid and support them during this time." And this is why people continue to say it's bigger than football. At this point, we have to worry about the mental health and the mental well-being of the players who witnessed what they saw on Monday Night Football, but also players around the league, as the reality of this harsh and physical game really reared its ugly head. I thought what the Bengals said in their statement on Tuesday afternoon was really, really classy by that organization, and it puts some things into perspective. Quote, "First and foremost, the Bengals continue to send thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin and his family. Our hearts are with everyone in this unprecedented time. What we can do is support one another. Last night was supposed to be a great night for the NFL and a great showcase for our hometown. Instead, the human side of our sport became paramount, and in that moment, humanity and love rose to the forefront." That last line, it rings so true. As medical personnel undertook extraordinary measures, both teams demonstrated respect and compassion, while fans in the stadium and people around the country bolstered their support for Damar and love for each other. The Bengals are thankful for the love and compassion shown by all praying for Damar. And let's talk about this football game, right, between the Bengals and the Bills. They were fighting for the number 1 seed. They were fighting for playoff positioning. It was expected to be one of the most highly anticipated games of the 2022 NFL season, and we know that the game of football is so physical, right? But for players to react to one another and to react to the situation like they did, to show grace, class, humility, and heart, it really was a beautiful thing. As for Damar Hamlin, he had been having a very, very good year for the Buffalo Bills. And what's so unfortunate, he's only 24 years old, so much life ahead of him, and hopefully he's able to come out of this on the right side. He played his college football at the University of Pitt. He was a 6th-round pick in 2021, and oftentimes when you're drafted that late, you're not a guarantee to make a roster. He did, and he had been performing very, very well. 14 starts this year at that safety position for Buffalo, a very good defense and a team with Super Bowl aspirations, and he was second on the team in solo tackles going into that game on Monday Night Football. And going back to some of the things that I've said, the best of humanity was really on display last night outside of what Skip Bayless had to say. Damar Hamlin a couple of years ago started this community toy drive while he was in college. And last night, there were only a couple $1,000s, I believe, on that GoFundMe. Well, as of this recording on Tuesday afternoon, that number is at more than $4 million and counting on this Tuesday. And I know for a fact, Trey Lance, Christian McCaffrey, they both donated $1,000 to this charge, to his toy drive, excuse me. As for what the 49ers said, as well as some of the players and their reactions to everything that kind of happened last night, the San Francisco 49ers team page said, "Prayers up for Hamlin Island and the Buffalo Bills." And then some players voiced their support. They sent along some prayers as well. Deebo Samuel, God be with him, as well as his family. Diamador Lenore did the simple thing that a lot of people were doing last night, and a lot of people in the chat during our live show just throwing up the prayers emojis. Ray McLeod, God be with him. And exactly, that's what he needs right now, is for God to be with him. Ambry Thomas, praying for you, man, for real. And it really does put into perspective when you see a colleague, another player in the NFL, have that happen to him, in which he made a tackle, pretty routine football play. Yes, it was physical. He gets up, he collapses, and they have to administer CPR on the field. Can you imagine what the players were thinking in that moment? And the game of football, and this is the beauty of sports, is that it brings people together, and football specifically is no doubt a brotherhood that was certainly on display last night, and this is a violent game, is the game of football. And this is a lesson learned and a message sent to everybody, whether you play football, you've played football in the past, or not. Life is precious, so don't take it for granted, and you really can't take things for granted in life because you never know what's going to happen at any given moment. So that's the latest on Damar Hamlin and what the 49ers had to say. Today's show is presented and brought to you by Rocket Money. If you head to rocketmoney.com/Niners, you can cancel unnecessary subscriptions and start saving money today. We'll tell you a little bit more about the app, and we do appreciate them for supporting this show because it's not easy to do something like this. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. Maybe for you, unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that I use that helps me track all of my expenses, and because of it, I no longer waste money on those subscriptions that I don't even use. You may have heard of it. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, shows all of your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription, and to cancel it, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. One more time, it's rocketmoney.com/Niners. Our thoughts and prayers sent to Damar Hamlin and his family. All right, appreciate all of you for being able to support the show today. We had an opportunity to maybe not go live, but I wanted to go live because we have a job to do, and I think it's really important, given what we do, to pass along all of the latest information, and that is the latest information right there. Thomas B., Maximo Eduardo, Ironic CMD, David the Goon, Wet Noodle 187. Appreciate all of you in the chat. To all of you who tuned into our watch party on Sunday, it was a blast. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you're ringing in 2023 in good fashion. And obviously, the new year didn't get off to a great start with what happened last night. Our prayers to Damar Hamlin as well as his family. Like I said a little bit earlier, no super chat menu. If you want to send in a super chat, great. We certainly appreciate that. We're not going to push them because we don't feel as though that is appropriate. And no, we are not going to be drinking today either because there are bigger things at play here on the San Francisco 49ers report. So that's the latest on Damar Hamlin. Now it's time to get to the latest on the San Francisco 49ers. I hope all of you understand that we have a job to do here, and that's to talk about the Niners. So let's get to the latest Niners injury news right now, live on the show. All right, coming your way on the San Francisco 49ers report, the latest 49ers injury news heading into the final week of the regular season, Week 18 against the Arizona Cardinals. A reminder, of course, we're going to be doing a watch party for this game to round out the regular season to get geared up for the playoffs, so I hope you all join us. Make sure you subscribe. We picked up 1,200 subscribers during our Raiders watch party with 120,000 people joining us. We'll be live on YouTube, and then after the game, we will once again be going live, taking your calls on call-in, as we've been doing all throughout the year, where you have an opportunity to call into the show. It's one thing to be able to read all of your comments here on YouTube. It's another to actually be able to chop it up with all of you. That's what call-in allows us to do. It's like Twitter Spaces, but even better. So I hope you join us on YouTube as well as call in for our watch party and our post-game show as we get ready for the 2022 NFL playoffs. And if you want to download the call-in app, you can scan the QR code if you have an iPhone to the left, Google Play Store to the right. Let's get to the latest Niners injury news here. We start with Christian McCaffrey, and he arguably had his best game as a Niner against the Raiders on Sunday. He was fantastic on the ground, through the air, and during that game, he got a little bit banged up. And let me say this about Raiders-Niners. This is a game that should be played every single year. I'm still living off the high of that game because it was so exciting, and it was so intense. And for Christian McCaffrey, during that game, suffered a mild ankle sprain. That's what the team is calling it. He is listed as day-to-day in this lead-up against the Cardinals. San Francisco 9-0 in games that he starts. They are 9-1. That lone loss since he got traded to the Niners when he first played for San Francisco against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he had a season-high 193 scrimmage yards against the Raiders in the desert. And with what Christian McCaffrey has been able to do, he's unlocked a different element to this offense. He's added a level of versatility, playmaking, and just this dynamic element that really is so special. And he's one of the most gifted football players that I've ever seen since the turn of the 2000s, because with what he's able to do, running in between the tackles, getting outside of the tackles, his footwork, his patience, allowing blocks to develop downfield, but also what he can do catching the football out of the backfield, but also out of the slot, really is extremely special. And that was on display against the Raiders in a massive comeback dub for the Niners. 19 carries, 121 yards, average yards per carry of 6.5. And on top of that, 6 catches and 72 yards. And I've been having this conversation on Twitter with a couple of people. I posed this to a couple of homies here at Chat Sports. Think about this, right? Is the Christian McCaffrey trade the most impactful in-season trade in the history of the NFL? Now, I know what Von Miller did last year for the Rams was great, but really, he started to show up come NFL playoff time, and obviously he was great in the NFC Championship game, and he was really good against Tom Brady in the playoffs, then once again in the Super Bowl. But has a player had the same impact as Christian McCaffrey during an in-season trade, not free agency, in-season trade? Because also, back several years ago, even as early as a couple of years ago, a lot of teams weren't aggressive leading into the NFL trade deadline. They kind of stood pat. They didn't make trades in season. San Francisco did, and it's really changed the complexion of their entire season. And this is what McCaffrey has done in 10 games in the Scarlet, Red, and Gold. These numbers, phenomenal. 10 games, he already has more than 1,000 all-purpose yards, 149 carries, 701 yards, 49 catches as well because the route running is so slick and so clean, 430 receiving yards, 10 total touchdowns, a combination of those coming on the ground, through the air, and then, of course, that one throwing touchdown against the Los Angeles Rams, which did help the Niners' season get back on track. And if McCaffrey's banged up a lot or a little, even if he's banged up just to the slightest degree, I'm not playing Christian McCaffrey against the Arizona Cardinals because of the impact and the value that he has on this offense. You don't need him to play. Arizona Cardinals are a bad team, and you can win this game without McCaffrey. If you want to play Elijah Mitchell coming off his injury, you can. Jordan Mason, you elevate Tevin Coleman from the practice squad. I would seriously consider resting McCaffrey for Week 18, let him get right, and then you bring him back for the first round of the NFC playoffs. So what do you think? What should the Niners do with Run CMC? I say sit, so I'm going to go ahead and submit my S. Do you think that the Niners should play him? Type P if you disagree. If that's the case, all good. Just let us know down below in the comment section. To another back on this roster, Elijah Mitchell, expected to return to practice this week, Wednesday. Hasn't played since November 27th. Got injured against the New Orleans Saints. He's only played in 4 games this season. He is eligible and could play on Sunday because his practice window was activated. It really all comes down to the health of Elijah Mitchell. And speaking of his health, when he's healthy, he's great. He's one of the best backup running backs in the NFL, and when healthy, he can be a legitimate bell cow number 1. But unfortunately for him, he's been a little bit brittle, so he has been able to have that bell cow type of name because he continues to go down with injuries. A couple of last year, 2 knee injuries this year. But when he's on the field, his career stats in 15 games, this is basically an entire season, they're phenomenal numbers here. And I love his precision. I love how quickly he hits the hole. I love his ability to really eye where the blockers are going and pick up positive yards, even when it looks as though it's going to be a negative play. For him, over the course of 15 games, to run for nearly 1,200 yards, that goes to show you how good of a running back he is. And if he's able to be the number 2 behind Christian McCaffrey throughout the playoffs, it's yet another weapon on this Niners offense. Another reminder, make sure you join us for our watch party on Sunday. San Francisco playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. Their final tune-up for the playoffs will also be live on call-in after the game, where you have an opportunity to call into the show. More injury news to get to as the Niners a little bit banged up, as we said, after that game against the Raiders. Aaron Banks, great news here. Why is that? Well, the original thought was that he suffered an MCL sprain. That could have kept him out for the rest of the playoffs. And for Aaron Banks, he's been great this year. Instead of the MCL sprain, it's just a knee sprain. So at the most, or at the very least, I guess I should say, he's going to miss Sunday's game against the Arizona Cardinals. Beyond that, though, it sounds as though he does have an opportunity to maybe come back for the first round of the playoffs, or if the Niners get that number 1 seed, maybe he can come back for home field advantage in the divisional round of the playoffs. But at least it's not an MCL sprain. And for Aaron Banks, pretty wild developmental story for him. played 5 snaps last year, and this year taking over for Laken Tomlinson. Tomlinson's been a flop for the New York Jets, and Aaron Banks has been great flanked to Trent Williams. 969 offensive snaps, 526 pass blocking snaps this year, just 5 penalties, 1 sack allowed, only 2 hits allowed on the turnstile at that quarterback position for the Niners this year, and just 25 total pressures. And this is a credit to him for getting his body in a position for him to be in better shape. It's a credit to this offensive system for bringing the best out of offensive linemen, because Jake Brendel has also played good as an inexperienced guy, but also Chris Forrester, the offensive line coach for the Niners. Aaron Banks was a second-round pick in 2021. He played 5 snaps as a rookie. He looked lost in the NFL preseason, and because of that, barely played at all during his rookie campaign. So from that to being a pivotal member of this offensive line and playing at a legitimate Pro Bowl level, Aaron Banks could be the left guard for this team for many, many years ahead. As for Dre Greenlaw, just like Aaron Banks, positive development here on the injury front. Did not get a full evaluation on a back injury. Looked as though it could have been a neck injury as well at the time, but the Niners are calling it a back injury. Kyle Shanahan very optimistic that he'll return soon, and he said this about the Banks and Greenlaw injuries. As bad as both of the injuries looked originally, we didn't know if it would be for the whole season or not. We feel like we got some good news, on that front so far. And for Dre Greenlaw, he's leading the Niners in tackles this year. He has played at an all-pro level. He's a big reason why him, Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shire, as a trifecta are the best linebacking core in the National Football League. This guy just has a knack for making big plays. He's so good as a coverage linebacker, a team-high 127 tackles, 6 pass breakups, as his awareness through the air is very good. Love the physicality that he brings to the table. Never afraid to lay the boom. 2 forced fumbles and 2 fumble recoveries for Dre Greenlaw this year. So if you think the Niners do have the best linebacking core in the NFL, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. If you rack your brain, I don't think there's another team that has a linebacking core close to what the Niners have to offer on the second level of that defense. A big reason why they're the number 1 overall defense in the NFL here in 2023, pivoting to 2022, pivoting to 2023. All right, Deebo Samuel, let's round out with this. So last week, and we talked about this, he took part in 2 limited practice sessions. It's good for him because that injury at the time also looked to be a disaster. And it's not. He could play in Week 18. And for this Niners team, since Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017, highest injury rate in the NFL. But finally, we're looking at a situation in which the Niners are getting healthier as the season progresses and gets deeper, which is also impressive because San Francisco made a deep run last year and played extra football en route to the NFC Championship game. Deebo's a special cat, and you put him on the field with how this offense is moving right now, they can be so hard to stop, so interchangeable, so versatile, and so well-rounded because you can put Deebo in the backfield, slot, out wide. Brandon Ayuk and his emergence since Deebo's gone out, he's been great. I actually don't want to see the Niners go away from George Kittle once Deebo comes back. I hope that he's still a part of this pass game. And even in a down year, this is what Deebo is capable of. Like 54 catches for 612 yards, but then has carried the football 41 times for 228 yards and 5 total touchdowns. He deserved to get paid. Has he lived up to the expectations of getting paid? Yeah, probably not this year, but I have no doubt he's going to make good on that contract moving forward because he's a special football player. So with this game on Sunday, again, join us for our watch party. Please make sure you subscribe. Who are you going with? ARI for the Arizona Cardinals, SF for the San Francisco 49ers. Let us know. As always, appreciate all of you for tuning in and watching the 49ers Report. All right, so who you got? Let us know. Ironic CMD, Niners. John Wallace, Niners. Matthew Vega, Niners. Tammy, Niners. David Corona, Niners all day. Bonton 6, San Francisco. Richard Deere, going with the Niners. Panic, Niners as well. Good stuff right there. And here's our guy, David Corona, once again. I see him in the chat. We showed him during the watch party on Sunday. Looking fresh. David Corona, tuned in from Corona, California. Word is he might be the mayor out there. John Wallace with another super chat. $2 coming in. Will he be back? Banks, rest him. He might be back. So that was basically the update from Shanahan, is that he might be back. If it was the other injury that we discussed, maybe not. But positive injury news on that front, and hopefully more positive injury news after Week 18 against the Cardinals. So we will be rounding out our live show with the mailbag. If you want to hop on board, get involved, use the hashtag 49ers or Super Chat. We're not really pushing Super Chats today, but if you want to skip the line, you can send in a Super Chat. We'll answer your questions first. No Super Chat menu, just because we're sensitive to the fact that Damar Hamlin and him being in critical condition at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center is obviously more important than football and more important than us trying to have fun on the show. We're, of course, doing our job passing along all of the latest Niners news, and we talked about Damar Hamlin a little bit earlier. If you want to scroll back and watch that, you can watch it, but not going to push Super Chats, but of course, if you want to send them in, we do appreciate all those donations. So hashtag 49ers Super Chat to get featured on our mailbag. Pex, what are you drinking? I'm just drinking water today, as I said. Nothing crazy. Could still be recovering from Sunday as well. The real ones know. Joseph, hey, what's up, Chase? What's up, Joseph? How you doing? David Watts said, of course Niners are going to win this game. Maximo, I'll be a 49ers fan until I die. Ride or die. You already know Niners all day from Joe Griffin. Rich Millich, he said the real ones know. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right, mailbag coming up to round out our live show. Let's start hammering out your questions right now, and let's chop it up live on the 49ers Report. Welcome into the 49ers Report right here on Chat Sports. Hope all of you having a fantastic week and weekend. A reminder, join us Sunday. Last regular season watch party. Cardinals on the road to take on the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco. Still with an opportunity with the Philadelphia Eagles loss to get the number 1 seed in the NFC. There's a lot to play for. Can't wait to break it all down during our watch party on Sunday. Make sure you subscribe and join us as we continue to grow the faithful family here at Chat Sports. So coming your way on today's show, we're going to open up the floor, one of my favorite segments where we're able to chop it up and talk all things Niners with all of our loyal subscribers. Another reason why you have to subscribe to the channel, hashtag 49ers or Super Chat for your questions, your comments, and your hot takes to get featured here on the program. John Wallace with a $2 donation coming in. Will Aaron Banks be back? Should the 49ers rest him? There is an opportunity for Aaron Banks to come back, who has been great in his sophomore campaign, flanked to Trent Williams along that Niners offensive line. Kyle Shanahan with an update on Aaron Banks and Dre Greenlaw this week, saying this in the aftermath of that Raiders game. As bad as both of the injuries looked, we didn't know if it would be for the whole season, that they'd be lost or not. We feel like we got some good news on that so far. So hopefully that good news does continue for San Francisco, because if you're depleted along that offensive line, you're suffering some injuries there, that is something that can affect the pass game. That's something that can affect the run game and really curtail any hopes for a Super Bowl run. And Aaron Banks has been very, very good along this offensive line for the Niners in his second NFL season. Guerrero, $5 Super Chat. Thank you, man. Giants will beat the Eagles, and my Niners will beat the Arizona Cardinals. Go Niners. What do you think, sir? So if that does happen, then I'm sure you already know what the playoff picture is going to look like, right? San Francisco would get the number 1 seed. And wouldn't that be crazy? They entered last week before that Raiders game in the number 3 seed. They come back from 10. They win in overtime. Robbie Gould, split the uprights. Minnesota Vikings got dominated by the Green Bay Packers. And because the Niners had the better NFC record, they moved up to that 2 seed. Philadelphia Eagles kind of struggling a little bit in the final couple of weeks. So if they lose against the Giants and the Niners do win, home field advantage goes through Levi Stadium, just like it did in 2019 when San Francisco was dominant in this conference. So who you got on Sunday? Get those game predictions in. Niners at home for their final regular season game of the 2022 season. ARI for the Cardinals, SF for the Niners. Let us know. Steve, another $5 Super Chat coming in. So who takes the number 1 seed next week if the Eagles lose and the Niners win? What if the Cowboys win and the Vikings win? Who wins the 4-way tie and why? So a lot of playoff implications certainly at play. If the Cowboys win and the Niners win as well, I believe the tiebreaker goes to San Francisco. If the Cowboys win and the Niners lose, and the Eagles lose, the Eagles have to lose that number 1 seed pretty much. Then the Cowboys would get that number 1 seed. If the Vikings and the Niners are tied, San Francisco still does have the tiebreaker, I believe, for the top position among the Niners and the Vikings because of the better NFC record. There's a lot going on that front, Steve. I do appreciate the question, but let's hope that the Eagles can lose, the Niners win, Niners get that number 1 seed in the NFC. More questions coming up right around the bend, but first, our mailbag today is presented by Rocket Money. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions and start saving money today with Rocket Money. Free, easy-to-use app, and you can download it today by heading to rocketmoney.com/Niners. Let me ask you this question. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? Well, get this. 80% of people have subscriptions that they totally forget about. Maybe for you, unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that I use. It helps me track all of those expenses. And because of it, I no longer waste money on those subscriptions that I don't even use. You may have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. App shows you all of your subscriptions in one place, then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for, so get rid of those useless subscriptions. With Rocket Money now, head to rocketmoney.com/Niners. Stay on top of your upcoming bills. They'll cancel those subscriptions for you, and you can view all of those subscriptions on one screen and cancel them by hitting the cancel button. One of our big loyal subscribers here on the Niners Report, it is Chua Lore. And then we have another $5 super chat coming in from Dean Slater. Chua, how can we clean up the penalties? You don't commit them. And I thought that San Francisco was pretty solid with penalties against the Raiders. Like, there are going to be penalties here and there, but if you commit too many, like, that is something that can cost you in a playoff game. And the 49ers do have to clean that up just a little bit. Just have to be a little bit more disciplined on that front, Chua. Dean Slater, $5 super chat. Bang, bang, Niners win 31-10 against the Arizona Cardinals. So, Dean, Niners no doubt should win this football game. It would be a massive, massive upset. Looks as though Trace McSorley is going to get the start again for Arizona. And even if the Niners rest a lot of their players, they're still so deep on both sides of the ball that they should be able to win this football game. So speaking of Cardinals, Niners, Levi's Stadium, 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Will probably go live, I'm thinking an hour before the game on Sunday. Predict the score. Let us know down in the comments section. And if you're right, you're a wizard. Garrow, we got to take the Cardinals seriously because every team is going to play a hard-hitting game, especially because this is the last game. It is the last game. There's nothing that the Cardinals would want more than to hand the Niners an L going into the playoffs, and it's a divisional rivalry game, so these teams know each other very well within this division. Rich Millich, what is the greatest Cardinals threat? They have a pretty good defense, although they're a little bit banged up. Offensively, don't think you're going to have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins. He's injured. So, honestly, not a lot of threats to worry about. James Conner is a solid running back, but this team is so depleted in terms of injuries. The biggest threat to the Niners, Rich, let me say this. It's themselves. It's the Niners. Justin Abalera. What's up, Justin? Someone has to go. Can we pay Bosa, Ayuk, and McCaffrey? So McCaffrey's already under contract, and what's interesting about his deal, it's non-guaranteed after this year, so it can be restructured. And I actually think there is a pathway in which he does restructure that contract to free up a little bit more money on the payroll for San Francisco. Nick Bosa is going to make crazy money. We're talking Aaron Donald type of money, especially if he wins Defensive Player of the Year. Now, next year, he's going to make about $18 million. I'm not sure if the Niners are going to pay him before 2023 or after. He has more financial security as a first-round pick than Debo had going into the final year of his rookie contract. He also had that fifth-year option exercised. But Bosa could make $35 million per. I'm hoping that Ayuk can re-sign around 20. That'd be a really good value deal. But McCaffrey is under contract. Then if the Niners want to restructure, they can do that as well. So could give them some financial space and wiggle room. John Wallace, he's once again our Super Chat MVP here on Tuesday, just like he was on Sunday against the Raiders. What do you think the tickets, the cheapest will be. For the Cardinals game, I don't think they're going to be all that expensive because the Niners already won the division. The Cardinals are a bad team. Yes, San Francisco's still going for that number 1 spot in the NFC. But I don't think they're going to be too expensive. I think they'll be somewhat cheap there, John, especially if you go second 100 level or 300 level. K-Kang Pay, you showing off the Glock here? How you feel about the idea of Trey Lance to the Texans? So I don't know if I would trade Trey Lance to Houston. You think about it, right? You can probably, in my opinion, get a second, third-round pick back for Trey. And if Brock Purdy continues to play this well, does Trey Lance just not have a position on this football team? Now, to have 2 young, talented quarterbacks on their rookie deals is a benefit, and it's pretty advantageous because you're paying a lot of big-time money to some of the all-pros and pro bowlers on this football team. But the 49ers lost draft capital moving up to take Trey Lance. They lost draft capital after the trade for Christian McCaffrey, and their chest of draft picks is somewhat barren. So if you could get a second and or a third-round pick by sending Lance to Houston, if you think that Brock Purdy is going to be your starter, it's actually pretty good value back for a guy who's made 4 starts in the NFL. If it happens, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Our guy Evan Hinders this offseason, I hope the Niners get the honey badger via trade or free agency. So you want the 49ers to trade for Tyrann Mathieu because he signed a 3-year, $33 million deal with the New Orleans Saints. So it's not a possibility for him to come to San Francisco via free agency. And honestly, Evan, I'm going to disagree with you here because of this reason. If you bring back Deshaun Gibson, you can get him back for $1 million, $2 million per year. You bring back Jimmy Ward about $10 million per year. I think that's pretty solid. Talanoa Hufanga's on his rookie contract. That's 3 players right there. Equal, maybe a little bit more than the value of Tyrann Mathieu, and that's just 1 player. So from a team-building philosophy standpoint, I actually might disagree with you, Evan, but I do appreciate you putting on that general manager hat as evidenced by the name there on the username, my guy. Happy New Year, brother. 16 Bar King, need that number 1 seed. Don't trust the Packers. So the 49ers are 4-0 against the Packers in the playoffs, but I kind of worry about the Packers as well, playing their best football right now. When they run the football 50% of the time, I think they've won like 6-7 games this year. They've started to find their identity. And anytime you're going up against Aaron Rodgers in the NFL playoffs, that does get a little bit scary. And that's a team that would have nothing to lose. Coming to Levi's. Aaron Rodgers is a Northern California cat. He's still hurt that the Niners drafted Alex Smith over him way back in the day in what was that, 2005, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Packers worry me. I definitely agree with you on that front there, 16 Bar King. If you made it this far in our mailbag, and if you're subscribed to the channel, like everybody who sent in a question, it's a real one roll call, baby. Type real one in the chat. We appreciate all of you for supporting the show, being a part of our mailbag. A couple more questions to get to. Mike D, $2 donation. If we stay at the 2 seed, what 7 seed would you want to face? Probably the New York Giants. That's a really advantageous, good matchup for the Niners. Detroit Lions. I think that the Niners would beat them as well. Green Bay Packers worry me the most. So I'll go Giants in order of teams I'd want to face. Giants, Lions, Packers. That's what I'm going with, Mike D. All right. Great questions coming in. Thanks to all of you who sent in a question. And we had to cover a lot on a very emotional day across the NFL. Damar Hamlin latest. We talked about that during our first segment. Latest Niners injury news. And then we rounded out by doing a little mailbag as well. Like we said to start the show, and like we've said during the show, not going to push Super Chats today. No Super Chat menu, just not appropriate with what happened last night to Damar Hamlin and his current status. So, not going to push Super Chats, but if you want to send any in, we can answer some more questions over the next 2 minutes. So we'll put our 2-minute shot clock on here, and if you want to send in any Super Chats, you can. And if none come in, we're just going to sign off. We're going to call it a day during what has been a very emotional day here across the NFL. If you're subtype real one, Daniel is a real one. Maximo, yes, I do think the Packers could be a big threat for the Niners, the biggest. I'd still say Eagles or Cowboys. Chase, what time is the watch party from Chua? The game is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific there, Chua. If we had the resources available, I'll go live an hour before the game, but we'll have to see because there's a lot of late games there in that window. John Wallace, $6 super chat, my man. We'll send you that football soon. Real one, love all y'all. Praying for number 3, Damar Hamlin. We're praying for him as well. John Wallace, thank you so much for that. You're our super chat MVP today. The dreaded one, also a real one. K. Kang, Cowboys are ass, man. Dak will be Dak. Yeah, I don't really buy them to be a serious threat, but in a game that gets ugly, in a game that becomes a shootout, in a game in which the Niners turn the ball over, it could get close. It could get close. We're at 120 on our super chat shot clock. Again, not pushing super chats today, but if you want to send in one, you're guaranteed to be on the show. I'm just there, 8, typing that number 3. Good job by you. Prayers to my dude 3 from Jay. The real one is Damar from Marco. Yes, he is. Faithful sends prayers to number 3 from Joseph. Mike Concho typing in that 3. Ruben Cirillo, real one. 3's in the chat. Hits different from Rich Milich. Yes, it does. Yasir was actually at the game in Vegas on Sunday. Says, attending the Niners game in Vegas was amazing, but Lenore got picked on a lot. What happened to Amory Thomas? He's been a little bit injured over the last couple of weeks, and Lenore has kind of beat him out in that cornerback rotation. He did get picked on a little bit. Tall task when you're going up against Devontae Adams, though. All right. Our Super Chat shot clock has expired. Again, ideally, usually on every single Tuesday, we stay live for a really long time to talk Niners. Today, a little bit different after what happened in Cincinnati last night with Damar Hamlin. So we're going to pay our respects, send our thoughts and prayers to him, his family, Buffalo Bills organization. Let's hope that he's able to pull through here. He's going to be okay and just resume normal life, not even thinking about returning to the football field at this point. Send him your thoughts and prayers. We'll be back every single day here on the Niners Report, giving you daily content because that's what we do. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now. And like I said, thanks for tuning in and understanding the very unique circumstances on today's show.